here with my group. My group. I see them. My group, Lee, Anthony, Stevie, Jamie, and Amelia. And we have some interesting topics this week, a little darker than our previous group. The first is an incident that happened at a Nordstrom in Walnut Creek, California, when about 80 people stormed and stole about $200,000 worth of merchandise. So what do you guys think about that?
I think it's really interesting. As I was doing my research, I learned this is not an isolated incident in this area of California. Like a couple of days before, there was like a bunch of people that stole from a Louis Vuitton, and there have been like a few other like big like high retail robberies that are like pretty organized within the past like week, which is kind of spooky.
I think it's interesting that the internet just makes situations like this a lot easier to organize than it was in the past. So now we're seeing a lot more things like this happen.
All I can think of is like, you think like powers and numbers, and like if they can orchestrate this, I wish people would use that for like good things and not robberies.
Does anybody have any thoughts on the fact that there were 3 people injured, one of them being an employee? Like, they were just working there, and this happened while they were working.
I read somewhere that it was 5 employees were injured, but like none of them had like serious injuries. But still, like, I don't know. I don't really expect to go into like my 9 to 5 part-time, not even 9 to 5, like part-time job at a Nordstrom, and then leave like having to go to the hospital to get checked out. Like, I think that's like something that you shouldn't really have to deal with going into work. So now they have like a bunch of officers in the area, but someone that was on the scene said something that there were like, they saw somewhere between 50 and 80 people leaving the store that were like part of that group of looter robbers. The police, two mall police are not going to be able to like help that situation.
I just feel like nowadays, I mean, obviously we're not in California, but you can't go anywhere without like being a little nervous, or at least I can't. I'm nervous everywhere I go, like that something's going to happen because, we are in this is like a weird looting issue, but like gun epidemic, obviously. And so I'm always worried that like I'm going to be somewhere and there's going to be a shooting because like schools aren't safe, churches aren't safe, apparently Nordstroms aren't safe. So like, we saw that story last week about the concert and the poor person who passed away. So it's like you can't even go somewhere that you think is like normal or enjoyable and just assume you're going to be safe.
Have any of y'all like ever been in a situation where there have been like police in a store? Because I personally haven't, but I feel like I wouldn't really know what to like do.
I've never been in a situation like that, but I do work at a Target, and a lot of the time people, obviously there's a lot of theft at my store.
Yeah. And
there is a police presence that comes in a lot because we have a lot of teenagers that come in and just destroy things and harass us and harass customers. So, I mean, I can only imagine something like that happening.
I think the worst part about it is it got past the point of harassment and looting. I mean, they pepper sprayed one person, they beat another person. It's ridiculous. If it was looting, all right, that's bad, but that's one thing. The moment they laid hands on another person was
and like hurt people.
Yeah, completely unnecessary.
The minute people feel like they have some kind of anonymity, I hope I'm saying that right, but like people do crazy things. Like think about online bullying and all that. But like the fact that they were in this group, people I think get a little crazy thinking they can pepper spray or do whatever because it's like no one's gonna know it was them. They're just part of the group. And it just like it mind boggles me. I don't understand. Like I guess I'm just not that person, but like I can't even fathom that kind of mentality that I would ever go into a situation like that. Like it's like they must get some weird adrenaline. Like I don't even know. But I don't like it.
As of right now, I think they have 3 suspects in custody. That's 3 out of like somewhere between 50 and 80. Like there's still so many more people that were like part of that event,
One of the articles that I read mentioned that in 2014, California lowered like robbery or theft under $1,000 to misdemeanors. So a lot of people argue that people are taking advantage of this law.
Wow.
Because they know that if it's under $1,000, there won't be it would be a misdemeanor.
That's crazy.
I mean, I think if that's the case, then I think anybody involved should be charged with an abuse charge. Granted, they might not have been the actual people beating on workers, but they're accomplices. So
very scary.
Yeah, definitely scary. Speaking of charges, specifically abuse charges, our next topic is about this group of 13 siblings and their parents. David and Louise Turpin have been arrested and charged with 25 years to life after pleading guilty to 14 charges of torture, adult abuse, child endangerment, and more. So what did you guys think about this case? I personally thought it was horrific.
At that point, they're not even parents. Like, they are sick, sick abusers. Like, how can you have pictures like that were just shown of all of your kids wearing like a thing 1, thing 2 through 13 shirts, and then keep them in cages chained to their bed? Like, I think it's sickening. And the fact, I feel like it should be life in prison. Like, if you have 13 kids that you've done that to for their entire life, that you both have done collectively, like 25 years just seems like too little. One of their kids the oldest child was 29 when they were like discovered and basically like given their freedom. So they're going to spend less time in prison than one of their eldest children spent chained to their bed. I don't think
they should charge all the children individually, like years to life per child too. Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's really disturbing. But they're not going to get out. 25 years to life is just whatever comes first, whether it's death or those 25 years. So just throw them under the jail and throw away the key.
One of the older children, because the ages ranged from 2 to 29 when they were discovered. There's a video of she was 17 when she like broke out of the house and she went to the cops, and you can just like see like how freaked out she is. I think there's like a video of it. It's like, it's a little intense, but this is like right around the time they got free and the police found out what was happening.
Our parents are abusing. They abuse us. But the reason I called and the reason I managed to get out here, this is one of the most scariest things I've ever done. I'm terrified. But I called because my 2 little sisters, they're chained up right now.
They also had said that the children were so malnourished that the young adults, the older ones, were so malnourished they looked like young teenagers. So it's just crazy to me how you could have used your children, human beings, like that.
Circling back to something you said, Lee, about how, there's that like happy family picture. I think we see that all too often. And especially now in the digital age, we see the image people want us to see. So you see, the happy in public, and then what goes on behind closed doors is completely different. So I don't know.
Someone asked, did the parents give a reason as to why they did this? So in my research did not find any indication of them saying that in court. I think they just pled guilty.
In court, they were saying how much they loved their children and how sorry they were, but they didn't really give a reason.
Yeah, it seems as though they thought this was normal behavior, which is disgusting.
Beyond.
I don't know how you get to that point.
I was watching an interview with the oldest, I think her name's Jennifer, because a reason that the story is getting so popular right now is that they did get their freedom in 2018, but I think 60 Minutes is doing a segment on them. She was basically telling ABC that they were forced to live in like trash like when they were let off their chains, the house was like full of trash. They weren't allowed to like look out the windows, like see daylight. I feel like I can't even imagine living 1 year like that, like let alone like my entire childhood and like first few years of adulthood.
I mean, for some of them, it was a great deal of their adulthood. I mean, 29 is not young. That's a long time to live in captivity and not know the world outside. That's crazy.
Part of
And
your life.
Jordan Turpin deserves a lot of praise for what she did. I mean, she wasn't even the oldest sibling, and she took it upon herself to escape and help get her siblings out of that situation. So well done to her. I mean, really amazing.
I don't think there needs to be a reason either. Like, pulling from personal experience, like it could be mental illness, it could be lots of things, but like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Like the outcome was the same, and that the kids suffered and that like they needed help. So I don't even think that, like, reasoning being like they wanted to do tough love, or whether they were sick or they were just like crazy. I mean, it doesn't really much.
There has to be some cognitive issue for you to be able to do that to your kids for so long. I mean,
Or at all. I'll argue at all.
Yeah. Like without fail, after every single like childbirth, they were like, nope, same cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
They also have a very large amount of children.
Yeah,
a lot of the children were like uneducated and like live. Even I know some of the older siblings said that they were worried if like a kid got sick because they knew that they wouldn't get the medical attention that they needed. I think it's just like so sad to like live the majority of your life like that.
Not only scared of like abuse, but like scared of losing the people that like are experiencing the same thing as you. Yeah. That's like what Jordan said in the video. She's like, I'm not coming to you because my parents abuse us. I'm coming to you because 2 of my little sisters are chained up. Like that's what was like the most pressing matter at the time. And I think that's like, I can't even wrap my head around it.
And like, how do you recover from so many years? Like your entire childhood, that's all you know. It seems like it would be impossible to recover from.
I don't think you'd ever get over it. I think you could go to therapy and work on it, but I mean,
it's always going to be
fun.
But something that is a little bit hopeful about this story is that Jennifer, who is the oldest, was saying that they don't want people to look at their family and think that's so sad for them. Like these poor kids, they want them to like almost feel empowered because they did overcome something like that. Like she said something like they don't want like people to almost like pity or like look down on them, but rather like kind of look at the story now as like, but they've gotten through that, which I think is like, I mean, they were rescued in 2018. It's 2021 now, but like to come to that conclusion in such a short amount of time, like she's the oldest, so she's like endured it for the longest period of time. Like I think that's mind-boggling.
I think you can do both too. It's like
yeah,
strength,
like
but also build horrific.
Also recognize like that's terrible, but
for somebody uneducated, that's a pretty remarkable thing to say. And just that's just a really strong family right there. The fact that they all made it out alive is mind-boggling.
All right, I'm going to take us to our last topic now, which is another tough topic, controversial topic. So last year, Kyle Rittenhouse shot 3 men, killing 2 of them during a police brutality protest in Wisconsin. And just this weekend, he was found not guilty of homicide and 4 other charges. And there are definitely some heated opinions about this. So what do you guys think of the outcome of the charges, at least? And that's another picture.
Him posing in a bar after he got posted bail the first time that he was in custody of the police.
I truly lose my mind.
Very traumatized for sure.
Also his
I'm so mad because I think that something that makes me upset is that we call it a justice system and the judge in this particular trial wouldn't allow the prosecutors to use the term victims when talking about the two people he killed, but he would allow them to use the term looters, arsonists, and rioters, because victims is a charged word and alleged victims is a charged word, but looters, rioters, and arsonists are fine, because the judge basically allowed like the people in the courtroom to demonize the people that passed away. Like, I think that's so messed up. Like, I don't know. It was rigged from the start, in my opinion.
I mean, let's not even say rigged. Like, it's racism in America. We see this too many times. I just want to throw up some stats here. For example, if we look at Tamir Rice, a complete tragedy. It's a 12-year-old black boy who held a toy gun. He was shot on the scene, shot dead. And then we have Kyle Rittenhouse, 18 years old, white, actually killed 2 people and acquitted of all charges. This truly blows my mind, and like I lose my cool so badly over these issues, so I'm trying to be careful with my words, but like the amount, I don't know how many times this has to happen before something changes. I would love to know who was on this jury and like can't see blatant racism and also just doesn't care about justice. Like, I don't understand how you can excuse this in any shape, form, anything. It was not self-defense. You don't just like walk around with your stupid large gun and just think just because you're worried about self-defense. Like, he went there with a purpose. It's very clear what happened, and I cannot stand that this is what is the outcome.
With judges like that, this is just going to keep happening over and over and over again, and it's ridiculous. That judge should be disbarred. He was clearly biased. It's an unacceptable cycle.
The judge even said after the fact, he said, "I couldn't have asked for a better jury." I feel like that just feels like he's confirming the bias that he already went into the trial with. I couldn't have asked for a better jury, letting someone that's killed 2 people walk free. Okay, well, you obviously knew what you wanted to. You already had an intended outcome.
The white privilege makes me vomit.
I just wanted to bring up another one of the charges that the judge dismissed was possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 21. And it was dismissed because the barrel wasn't like a short barrel rifle. So like the barrel was too long. So like, from my understanding, like the gun was too big to be illegal. And that, I just like, how is that okay? How is that like a charge that can be dismissed because
they're just looking for
follow the exact like detail that needed to be illegal.
They're just looking for things to excuse it, like weird details. Like, I don't believe that for a single second. So I know I rant a lot about this, but it just makes me very angry.
Things like these, like, I'm not surprised anymore. Even when like the trial was coming out and I saw it on the news, I was already like, I would have been surprised if he would have gotten acquitted, just the way of history, the way that trials go when the perpetrator or the person who's being prosecuted is a white man. Like the privilege that he gets for going into a dangerous situation with the gun and isn't held accountable even for that action, never mind killing people. So, not surprising to me, and it's unfortunate.
We've talked a lot in this class about how we feel like, or some people in the class also feel like the police force primarily focuses on targeting a specific group of people, specifically people of color. And I feel like all throughout the justice system, we see like the police targeting the Black community, and then in the courtrooms, like defending white supremacists. So I think it's like, it's not a flaw within like this specific judge in this specific case. Like we obviously know it's like not just like a police systematic issue, like an entire issue within our entire justice system. Like it's so multi-layered.
I saw a tweet and I was just looking for the terminology because I really liked what they said, but they were like, not only do we have a white supremacy issue, we have a very, like, America's turning into an anti-blackness issue, and I stand by that. Like, and it just like, I'm losing all eloquence, but I just don't understand how you can look at everything that's happened, especially in this last year, 2 years, and if for the people that say that we don't have a problem, that like there's not racist people running around, like I just can't fathom. And it's, again, not enough to be not racist. You need to be anti-racist, and we are doing none of those things as a country. So change is drastically needed.
Gun control is a difficult subject to get into, and there's a lot of layers to it. So I don't necessarily want to get into the overarching argument, but why is it allowed for a minor to have an AR? It's just like with all these school shootings, they're children. Why is this even allowed at this point?
Wasn't it unregistered too?
It might have been.
Wasn't it illegal? Yeah.
It could have been. But that aside, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I get why it's going to take a long time if we even ever get to that point of banning assault rifles for adults. But for children, I think there's plenty of evidence now that this is a problem, and they shouldn't be anywhere near owning it.
But it shouldn't take a long time. Like everyone else in the world, like we're the only country that has this problem.
I think there's a lot of people in the United States who like worship guns though. Like they think it's like part of our culture, which is just so gross to me, at least.
I also think it's like really interesting that some people are comparing, they're obviously very different cases, but it accounts of like two 17-year-olds who've killed somebody. Kyle Rittenhouse going across state lines to intentionally defend property, defend himself with a gun and kills two people. There's a girl named Crystal Kaiser who was 17 when she shot someone who was sex trafficking her, and she was arrested. Like, is that not self-defense? Not to mention Crystal, black 17-year-old girl, Kyle Rittenhouse, white 17-year-old man. Like, I can't help but draw those parallels as well.
Apparently, Rittenhouse paid for the assault rifle with his stimulus check. Not that that really changes anything, but again, just why was he allowed to get that gun? I mean,
I don't know how not to be blinded, like enraged by this.
Another thing that came up in the court was whether or not Kyle is affiliated with like white supremacist groups. And the picture that we actually have is one of the people arguing that he is. He uses like this symbol, which is like kind of a dog whistle of white supremacists, like a white power sign. But he argues that, oh, it's just like the okay symbol, like he's using it in that manner.
And that shirt. Can we talk about the shirt? The shirt makes me want to die.
What does the shirt say again?
Free as censored.
Oh. Well, that tells you his, yeah.
I truly cannot, like, what's end? And, like, I say, like, I don't know how not to be enraged about this, but we should be angry about this. And, like, that is the, correct response. But it's just, like you said, Stevie, like, why are we not going to get to the place that we should be? That scares me. That's what scares me about being in our country. Yeah, I mean, we have a history. Like, it's not just this event, right? It's like cis white men can do whatever they want, basically, and walk.
That's probably why he felt that it was okay for him to go.
And
I just
by
like,
the verdict, it was. So
yeah.
it proves to him that his actions were fine.
I don't know. Stuff like this, it almost like just reinforces everything that has been part of our cultural conversation since 2018. It's even before that, but like primarily in 2018, I feel like that's when it kind of like started on the upheaval of like, oh, this is so upfront out in the open now that racism is still like very much alive and well and like encouraged in our
people aren't even afraid to like
justice
say
system.
racism now. Like it's
No.
just like I don't think racism ever went away, but people at least had like the right to feel shamed about it and like not be so out like forthright. But now people just say whatever they want.
It's
Yeah,
still
you can
so
look
weird.
Political
Like,
black
what-
hole, but
You can
Where
look
do
at
we
the
go
people
from
that
here?
showed up to the Capitol on January 6th and look at those signs. And it kind of just shows you the state of the people that exist in this country.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it's important because we kind of just brushed over it about the evidence that wasn't allowed in court. The CBS video, what he said. I mean, I wish I had my effing AR. I'd start shooting rounds at them. How is that not allowed in court? That's the basis of the case. I mean, that's what he did. 2 weeks later, or however many weeks later, he knew exactly.
Free
what he was
pass
getting
though, if you're a white conservative man, free pass in the justice system. Gosh, I don't know where we go from here. I think I feel some hope looking at this group though, because we all kind of seem to be at a general consensus of like this can't keep happening. So I just hope that there are less like people in our kind of like generation, less people like Kyle Rittenhouse, and more people like
You hope
my
that, but
peers.
Rittenhouse
But-
is a younger generation than us, and
Yeah,
he's
that's
not going to
true.
not pass that on to his kids.
I mean, yeah, and I was gonna say like we know people that claim
Our
to
age that are
things
still
happened
like
aren't racist. I know them, people that voted for our past president and think there was nothing wrong ever happening there. So
I don't know.
I think the scariest part is they're not scared anymore.
yeah, agree.
It's almost commonplace to be racist again.
And I feel like now it's almost taken less serious because people are like, oh, they're just trolling. It's like, it's not trolling. Like, people died. Like, I know that there are so many conservatives on Twitter defending Kyle Rittenhouse and like using that picture of him with the free as fuck shirt as like
Well,
a joke.
I mean, the craziest thing is that there's more conservatives coming out, or you can't even call them conservatives at this point because
Right
it
wing.
makes conservatives.
Yeah.
They're right wing extremists, and
Racist POS.
the moment because whether you choose to believe what he says in the Tucker Carlson documentary, I support the BLM movement. The amount of people that have come out and said that now Kyle Rittenhouse is no longer their hero, I mean, that proves there's a huge issue.
Yeah.
Why would that ever be anybody's hero? Like,
because we live in a country filled with idiots. And some other stuff I won't say, but
well, with that, it's kind of a sad way to end this little get together. But I hope everybody has happy Thanksgiving, happy Native American Heritage Day, and we'll see you next time on 20 Somethings TV.